The race was actually pretty good. A lot of people are saying that the race was boring and they fell asleep and all that type of stuff. I mean, yeah, there was a phase in which nothing was happening and the commentators made it look like that things would happen, but obviously it wouldn't have happened anyway because, you know, there are a lot of things which we will get into in a second. But it was not like a dull race like Abu Dhabi or like Qatar. I mean, Qatar was made exciting last year because FIA was inefficient, but like it was not that dull of a race. It was a decent race and it, kind of predictable because we saw the thing in sprint and the same thing happened at the rolling start after 4 laps of safety car. So let's talk about the race from the top. So first the formation lap happens and the race gets red flagged. It actually worked out in my favor because I was busy today. You know, it's Sunday, you had to do a lot of chores around the house. So I was busy and I didn't take a shower because I didn't have the time to. And I also was hungry. So like during that period of time, I took a shower and ate some food. So that just worked out in my favor. An hour of a break, an hour of a delay, amazing. Then the race begins and there is 4 laps behind the safety car. And by the way, these 4 laps may have cost Lando Norris the victory. Maybe he could have been even more closer to Oscar Piastri and, you know, put the stress on Oscar Piastri or whatever, right? But anyway, we'll talk about that fight also. We'll go chronologically. So 4 laps behind safety car. They could have done it with 2, by the way. Like, I don't think the conditions were that bad. I think these guys were just being extra cautious because, you know, like things could have gone crazy, you know, like if like it better safe than sorry is what I'm trying to say. This is the approach of the FIA. 4 laps gone, it's a long track, no big deal. But the problem is there is only one overtaking opportunity, which is between turn 1 and turn 5. Like that's the only like the entire stretch of the track where overtaking can happen, and you will know whether it will happen or not like right at the exit of turn 1. At the exit of turn 1, after T4 and 5, like after T4 basically, you will know whether like there is a move coming in or not. So because of that, the race kind of got predictable. But 40 laps, it's a long track. Things could have happened. They didn't, but things could have happened. So we get to racing, and Lando Norris makes the biggest mistake of his life. So what he needed to do was not get read by Oscar Piastri like a book. And credit to Oscar Piastri for reading his opponent on the race start, like, and he maintained just enough distance and, you know, took the first corner very nicely. He had a great exit and he was very close. I was watching it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people watching it live felt too. He was close. So you could immediately tell, as I mentioned a few seconds ago, you could immediately say, the moment you are out of turn 1 exit, you can sense it. You can sense if there is going to be a move coming. Obviously, you have to factor in the mentality of the driver. Oscar Piastri is a badass, as we all know. He goes for the moves, and he went for the move, made it work. He was very close through Eau Rouge, and he just kept it all together, executed the move, and after that, Norris just really didn't have a chance because, again, overtaking around the circuit, once you go ahead, lap 1 is the only opportunity. Lap 1, like the first lap of the beginning of the race, whether it's a standing start or, as we have also seen, a safety car start, a rolling start, regardless, the first lap of green flag conditions, whenever that happens after a safety car or at the beginning of the race, that's the only opportunity, because that's like for the race lead, at least if you're in evenly matched cars and that type of stuff, that's the only opportunity, the first lap after the green flag conditions. And we saw that after that, like for Piastri, he just had to manage the entire race, like nothing serious, just put in the laps in, make it decent, keep it consistent, hold on to the tires, manage the tires, and the medium tires were very good enough. They held up pretty great. Lando had to push really hard to even get, you know, close, and he was never close. The move was never happening, by the way. I think Norris pitted on lap 36, and within a couple of laps I knew that Oscar Piastri has won the race. I think many of us easily predicted that. If there are like 8 odd laps remaining and you are 8.5 seconds behind the race leader, you need to close on him a second per lap. Like that should be the pace advantage. If you are faster than Piastri, 1 second per lap, only then you can catch up and make the overtake. Otherwise, you cannot do that. Because in the middle sector, in sector 2, you're going to lose 2 to 3 tenths. And if you're right behind someone, you will by default lose overall 2 to 3 tenths. So that's like more than half a second right there. So, and the only place you can truly gain is between turn 1 and all the way before the entry of turn 5. That stretch is the only place where you can get closer and make the overtake. Nowhere else in the track, because there are other, stretches of, straightness and all that, but all of that gets negated at the bus stop chicane because it gives the opportunity for the driver forward to make your exit poor by placing their car perfectly at the bus stop chicane. So that negates the whatever advantage you have had in the second sector a bit. And then in turn 1, that also gives another great opportunity for the driver ahead to have a clean exit and just, pull away a little bit. And that's a very critical corner as well. So basically, you have to manage your distance to the driver front after turn 1, like by the time you get into the exit of turn 1. Only then there is a possibility of a move. So it was going to be boring. We all knew this, but it was not boring for another driver, Lewis Hamilton. In my prediction video, after the post-qualifying prediction video, I mentioned that Max Verstappen is going to win. We'll discuss a little bit about that. First, we'll talk about Lewis Hamilton a little bit, okay? So Lewis Hamilton, as I mentioned, I said that he needed rain to redeem himself, to have a chance at redeeming himself. I said that because the entire weekend has been going away from him. He's making dumb mistakes, and he had his first spin of his career in a Ferrari, sprint qualifying 1, got him knocked out, P19 or something. Didn't make much progress in the sprint in the dry, but in the wet on Spa, he was amazing. So started from the pit lane, which was effectively P18 at the race start, and he finished P7, like a solid P7. Shout out to Alexander Albon. That Williams has some serious straight line speed. And Alex successfully defended P6 from Lewis, which goes to show that the Williams are on the pace of Ferrari. And Ferrari went from, fighting for wins and challenging McLaren for the constructors in 2024 to be like fighting Williams and getting beaten by them. So that's amazing progress. But either way, great drive from Lewis Hamilton, 18th, all the way to P7. Great performance. Now the Max Verstappen thing, okay? I've been predicting throughout the entire weekend that Max Verstappen is going to win. And obviously, my first excuse is it was not dry. It was raining. So that's my first excuse, because if it was raining, then Verstappen's advantage over the others would have been great. He would have made moves, he would have overtaken people, but during the rain, that advantage was not that high because he was losing significant amount of time due to the lack of downforce on his Red Bull compared to the others. So when it is raining, obviously you're limited by the available grip on the track. Available mechanical grip on the track decreases when the track is wet. So you are limited by that. You cannot go full throttle, so you cannot enjoy the advantages of having low downforce. Obviously still you can, but the amount of advantage is very less. And because you have very low downforce, you will also lose more time in the middle part of the track. So the time you lose in the middle part of the track, you have to spend a huge chunk of that on the straight, turn 1 to turn 5, recovering from whatever you lost in the sector 2. So Verstappen's advantage was kind of negated from that. And big shout out to Charles Leclerc for defending against Max Verstappen. And I was kind of, look, the main point is I was generating some hype, not hype, but like interest in the race. We saw it in the sprint that nothing was happening. And obviously the usual suspects are going to be two McLaren drivers, Oscar Piastri versus Lando Norris. Who are the two people going to fight for pole in the next race, Hungary, and the race after that, and the race after that? Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, obviously. Like each session, at the top of the timing, you will find these two guys because, such is their advantage. And credit to these two guys for being so consistent and closely matched. It's giving us good entertainment. We'll see what happens in Hungary. I'll give the overall advantage to Norris. Either way, getting back to the topic of the title fight, I'm just freestyling through the entire thing. There is no strategy. I have no notes. But anyway, let's go back to the title fight a little bit. What Norris could have done in order to protect his win from Oscar Piastri, protect his P1. So you gotta let Oscar come side by side you on the outside, on the way to turn one. Hear me out, let me land, okay? You gotta be side by side almost going into turn one. You have to give Oscar Piastri, you have to keep him on the outside though. You cannot let him have the inside because if he is inside, then you're fucked. So he is on the outside and he is side by side. You are giving him the illusion that he can go around the outside. You have to invite him, you have to kind of entice him. And when he thinks that, when he kind of commits that, okay, I'll maybe attempt it, then you do the Max Verstappen strategy, which is to run a little bit wide when exiting the corner, and Piastri will back off because, he at least wants to be P2. So he's going to back off a little bit, and even if he complains, it doesn't matter. It's within the regulations of FIA. There is a championship at stake. So that's what you do. You lure him and allow him to be side by side going into the turn one, and then give him the illusion that he can go around you the outside in turn one, only to do the Max Verstappen. Now his exit out of turn one is compromised, and you can just pull away. And after the first lap, there is literally no chance. Like, he won't be that close to you. Because at the race start, there's a couple of meters from the car ahead. And same for the safety car restart. You will never get that close in racing conditions. Very rarely. And the rare condition is that when you have 1 second of a pace advantage over the car ahead, or the car ahead makes a really big fucked up mistake or something like that. You have to have 1 second of car advantage. And when Norris started putting in those lap times, I'm like, this guy's fucked. He ain't winning shit. He's going to go empty-handed, and, that's exactly what has happened. You need to be a second faster in order to overtake, not just in Spa, but usually on any track in Formula One. So who else we going to talk about? So we talked about the title fight at the front. We got to talk a little bit about Charles Leclerc. Big shout out to him for defending against Max Verstappen on those used intermediates. And then after the pit stop, he actually had good pace. He was comfortable. It was not difficult for him to turn the car around in sector 2. He was not necessarily, I would say, faster than Max Verstappen, because like I mentioned, it's one thing to catch up, another thing to pass, and you need to have a second's advantage. I think someone else has said that somewhere. You need a 1 second advantage, and Max Verstappen, even though he was faster in the straights, he was only faster in the straights. And as I explained earlier, whatever advantage you have, they actually get negated in the bus stop chicane, the final chicane, and turn one, because that gives an opportunity for the car ahead to kind of like reset, place the car perfectly so that your entry into the chicane gets, slightly compromised relatively, and you cannot take the ideal racing line that you want in order to, be safe. And another area where you can redeem yourself a little bit, kind of reset the situation and nullify whatever advantage you have, the car behind has on you, is at turn one. So again, Max Verstappen's advantage on Charles Leclerc, whatever it was between turn 1 and turn 5, he definitely had advantage, credit to TRS and low downforce settings. But it was kind of getting negated at the bus stop chicane and the first corner. So that was that. And Charles Leclerc protected his P3, got on the podium, great performance by him, and actually great redeemable performance by Lewis Hamilton. All things considered, they should leave Spa happily. They have outperformed Mercedes in the constructor standings, Kimi Antonelli had a bad race, and George Russell was not that fast either. So, and both of the Ferrari drivers scored decent points, I would say. Like for Lewis Hamilton, not great, but like definitely from where he started and how his weekend has panned out, pretty good for him. Pretty good for him. He was fighting for P6 at the end, and big shout out to Alexander Albon. But as I also mentioned, like all of the reasons, you basically have only one stretch of a track to get close and make the pass. You can't even get close before that, because you know the advantage will be negated by the stop chicane and the turn one. I feel like I'm repeating that sentence a lot. So overall, the race was predictable. We knew what kind of moves were possible. We knew what it would take for overtakes to happen, and all of those things have happened. And I just said Max Verstappen would win because that's the only unpredictable thing that could have happened, and we cannot have anything nice in this world. Like everything is predictable. In the next race, Hungary, Max Verstappen will finish where he had started, and the first two guys, Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, these two guys will continue to fight for wins. It is what it is. It's going to be boring. We will see what happens with Lewis Hamilton, though. I'm going to make another detailed video about him. A lot of chatter around him. He's talking a lot to press. He's breaking stereotypes and molds of old workflows in Ferrari. All these things are happening. So I want to check up on him a little bit. And the Belgian Grand Prix shenanigans for Lewis Hamilton started really bad, ended kind of like you have to take some positives out of that. He was competitive in that car, and because of the reasons, the overtaking opportunities were not that much. Whatever places you could make is in the wets, because that kind of nullifies, and you have to fight for like pound for pound skill level. But then after that, in the dry, you basically all of the cars in terms of development are converging also. This is the last years of the same regulations. A lot of reasons. You have to be happy with what you got. Ferrari, great result. Mercedes, they have lost the momentum. Like at the start of the season, they're looking great, but now they're getting fucked. So they need to pick things back up. Esteban Ocon, great performance as well. Sad for Isaac Hadjar. I was rooting for the guy. He is a very good driver, and I thought Fernando Alonso will score some points, but that Aston Martin is extremely slow. So they definitely are just participating in the remainder of the season just for the sake of it. I don't think things will get any better. It'll be a shame if Pierre Gasly outperforms them. So that's another battle that we need to watch for. At the bottom of the table, nothing big, nothing serious, but there's nothing much to talk about in the race. You know what I mean? So overall, the Belgian Grand Prix 2025, kind of so-so. It was predictable. It was not too dull as the people on the internet are saying. It was decent, right? I mean, there is only one place where you can get close and get past. So, there's not much you can do there anyway. So I think the race was as good as it's gonna get. We got Lewis Hamilton making up places. He got driver of the day. Liam Lawson scoring points. Charles Leclerc on the podium, and Oscar Piastri overtaking Lando Norris on track for the lead. Max Verstappen winning the sprint. Overall, it was not bad, is all I'm gonna say. So I'll make a few more videos about specific things in this race. I got a lot to talk about. So I'll see you in the next ones. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. And probably Lewis Hamilton. I'll dive into him in the next video.